So good afternoon. My name is Amy Scellamano. I'm the Director of Exhibitions, Publishing, and Design here at the George Eastman Museum. On behalf of the museum, I'm pleased to welcome you to the Dryden Theater for this afternoon's opening event of Pass Us the Mic, We've Got Something to Say, an exhibition of works in the Gallery Obscura by student artists in the Expanding the Field program of Flower City Art Center. Very briefly, I'd like to introduce Nanette Noken. Nanette is a great friend of the museum and for the last few years has served with enthusiasm as the chair of our museum's board. We are incredibly grateful that the firm that she heads, Noken & Associates, has sponsored the Gallery Obscura exhibitions and programming throughout 2024, and I'd like to invite Nanette up just to say a few words to you.
Thank you, Amy. It's an exciting program. Glad to have you guys back here at the museum. This is an exciting exhibition. I had the chance to see a little bit what's been displayed at the Gallery Obscura, and it's fascinating. I love the social justice issues selected and what we've seen so far. I have to take a little bit more time to really soak in the information. So welcome, thank you, appreciate the work, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So studying art, and even more being an artist, is a journey of constant experimentation and evolution. I can speak for everyone here when I say that we are excited to witness a part of these artists' journey as they participate in today's panel. I'm excited to introduce today's distinguished, and I will editorialize and say energetic, moderators. Jeffrey Q. McCune is the Frederick Douglass Professor and Chair. Jeffrey, would you raise your hand? Of Faculty Programs and Departmental Initiatives at the University of Rochester. He is the founding chair of the Department of Black Studies at the university and chairs their Faculty Senate. And he is the former director of the university's Frederick Douglass Institute. Jeffrey is also an award-winning author. His books include Sexual Discretion, Black Masculinity and the Politics of Passing, and as co-editor, Black Sexual Economies, Race and Sex in the Culture of Capital. He's also presently completing 2 book projects, Disobedient Reading, an experiment in seeing black, and the second on wildness of Kanye West, called On Kanye. I'd also like to introduce Rashaad Parker. Sorry, keep turning my head to look at them, but then you can't hear me. Rashaad is a youth program director, a filmmaker, an artivist, a curator, and a founding member of the Ninth Floor Artists Collective. Rashaad has been the youth program director at Flower City Art Center Expanding the Field program for teens of color for almost 6 years. In those years, he has helped mentor the student artists who are speaking here today and dozens of others on their journey to pursuing a college education and a future career in the visual arts. Each year, the Expanding the Field graduating cohort is providing mentorship, programs that support college readiness, and the opportunity to design their own art exhibition. Past exhibitions have been showcased at the Cornhill Arts Festival, Rochester Chamber of Commerce, RIT City Art Space, and now here in the museum's community gallery. The name of our community gallery, the Gallery Obscura, commemorates the early photographic device, the camera obscura, which is a box or a room with an opening that brings light and images into that darkened space. The works of these student artists not only bring light into our gallery, but bring energy, ideas, and the vibrant colors to our museum audiences. On behalf of the museum and its trustees, I thank these student artists and Flower City Art Center for their trust. We've broken up podium comments today. We're going to go ahead and ask Rashaad to introduce our student artists, and then we'll come back to the podium for a little bit more. But I encourage everyone to stay afterward. We have reception in the multipurpose hall, and then obviously the gallery is open for viewing. So Rashaad, if you would go ahead and get me off the podium and get them talking, we would appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Let's clap it up for Amy. Thank you so much for the opportunity, really, we appreciate it. So to my immediate left right here, we got Miss Sadie Hunter. Sadie is a 10th grader at Rochester Academy Charter School, High School. And next to her is Abigail Moreau, who's also a sophomore at Rochester Academy Charter School. Then we have Ismael Lopez Torres, who is a sophomore at UPrep. and Dyshawn Hagan Jr., also a sophomore at UPrep, and finally Ayana Carter, who is a sophomore at, tell me, she changed schools. What school? At North Star Christian Academy. Welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Okay. So you want me to start again?
No. So when you're in your conversation, you can illustrate that the students work on stage. You kind of say the name in advance and then pull it up.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I'll start by saying I'm really, really honored to sit on the stage with you all. I have always been a lover of artists, but I'm more a lover of youth artists. And I think the theme of this exhibition, Pass Us the Mic, is really symbolic of where we are in this country at this moment. We really do need to give you all the mic. Some folks have held the mic too long, right? And so I'm excited to hear you all talk about your work. And so I just wanted to start there, and I also wanted to start and just say, congratulations to my brother on all the work that you're doing to pass the mic. It's just warming to sit with you and think about this. And then if I was going to be true to myself and honest about how I think about this work, I teach in the field of Black Studies. I'm the chair of the Black Studies Department. And this is Black Studies to me. We have to understand that the best way to distill what is Black life and culture is in art. And if we don't understand that, right, there's complexity all in this image here, right? It's one thing to talk about police brutality as a generalizable idea, but when it's written on the body, right, it shifts Chasmere, right? And I think it's just beautiful and ugly at once, right? The beauty of what art can do, but the ugliness of the conditions under which Black people have to live in this country. And so I think you all do such a good job of capturing some of the more complex issues of our present moment. And so I really just wanted to start and ask a question. I was like, what inspires you? What inspired your work, whichever piece that you contributed? What inspired you? You don't have to go first, but I'm just giving you the mic if you want to.
Pass the mic.
Or whoever.
What inspired me was my mother noticing that she works really hard, and so does my dad, but he gets paid more than she does, which is wrong because they should be paid equally.
Well said.
I would say what inspired me was
Dyshawn Hagan Jr., the war in Gaza.
oh God, okay. Basically what I say what inspired me was I was just saying I was in class one day for my global class, and my history teacher, he the first day of the conflict that happened in Gaza and Israel, he started talking about it. And one of the kids in my class was like, oh, we have nothing to worry about because we're in the U.S. But at the same time, you never know if something like that could transfer over to the U.S. Anything can happen at any time, any day.
Ismael Lopez Torres, Men's Mental Health.
Okay, yeah, you can hear me. All right. So what inspired me was the way people would treat us young men negatively towards our mental health, and I wanted to spark a change with that. It's due through past experiences and my friends that have also been affected negatively. I've also just I got a question. I got a question real quick. how many, like, be honest with me, how many of y'all knew it was Men's Mental Health Month? Raise your hand. 1, 2. That's why I want to make a change, right there.
Abigail Moreau, generational stereotypes.
The reasoning that I created this was mainly because my experiences with certain stereotypes and how it affected me mainly started from my family. Naturally, in a way, has there ever been a time for all of you guys, like, wise, like, guardian or parental figure, had they ever made you feel, like, unheard or in a way, or like you're being dramatic at some point? And naturally, in certain, like, important situations, when you actually need that help, it sometimes feels like they're pushing you back. And in some ways, I've seen how when it comes to, like, millennials, I would say that they had to basically, in a way, raise themselves. And some of them are still going through that because that's a generational trauma in a way. Some of them are still going through that, and now they're having kids, and now they have Gen Z. And some millennials have actually changed, done better, and, you know, Gen Z is transferring that, but the difference is that they speak more. And people who are, you know, basically born with old traditional ways, they don't exactly like that or understand that because it goes away from the actual norms or the circle of the child doesn't say anything, only listens to what the person says. Like, you respect your adults no matter what, even if they disrespect you. And it really comes back to, like, the whole thing of basically, I would say, freedom of speech, in a way. If you could hear someone, but are you actually listening to them? And would, in the same way you would listen to your elders, would you actually listen to a child that's actually asking for help? Or would you say, it's probably because of that phone? Thank you.
Sadie Hunter, reproductive rights.
What inspired me to do mine was back in, I believe it was 2020, when Roe versus Wade got overturned. For me at the time, I was living in a state where they almost immediately made it so that these types of health care for women and people who can give birth were just immediately taken away. And I felt that that was very violating for people, especially here in the United States. And it meant a lot to me and the people in my family who I know would be heavily affected by these types of things, or would have been very heavily affected by them in the past had this happened before. And I just felt it was something that people don't talk about as much anymore, or that they don't think about as much in the more recent years as they did when it first happened. I think it's something that should really get brought up more often and fought against more.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your words and for your insight and for your compassion for the issues that affect not only your generation, but our generation as well. When thinking about this particular project, it's always been incumbent upon me as the youth director, their mentor, to put before them the issues, to put before them really what's going on in the world, and then have them weigh in on it. I gave them the framework, but they chose these individual topics themselves. I just helped them, formulate the grammar and the design and how we wanted to present it. But truly, these were issues that they researched and could make a declarative statement about. And that was really the gist of this project. What are you passionate about, and what can you make a declarative statement about? What can you own? What can you even author in your own words, taking from the statistics that are presented before us. It was very important for them to be able to weigh in on the issues and then to, again, take ownership of what that issue is in their dissemination to the general public.
That's rich. You know, you all are doing some work that some of my college students don't even get, right? They're like, how do we explain the issues of missing black girls, right? They're trying to find the language and the grammar, so it's really great that you're able to do that. One of the things that was striking to me when I was in the exhibition and even looking at these images is how many of you all who are sitting next to me actually experience multiple of these issues, right? Like no one issue, like all of these issues affect every person on the stage.
Right.
Right? And so I actually don't, like you know how some people come to a thing and they're like, yes, Israel versus Gaza, that is my thing, I see it, I connect with it. But like, I connect with a friend who was missing, found dead on Tuesday, right? I connect with gender inequality. My parents, like yours, right? My dad, you know, worked. My mother was a nurse with a master's degree. And my dad, because he worked for the government and with his hands, right, made more money than her. And she's saving people's lives, right? So we all have these compounding, right, set of issues. And some of that is heavy. And I guess I wonder, in your youth, right, how do you manage the heaviness of all of these things being thrown at you? How do you all sit here, right? And how do you all create art even in the midst of like feeling like your mental health might be constrained or strained? How do you deal with, you know, your parent or grandparents saying, "What you got to say about that?" You know, like how do you still do it? I mean, how do you manage all of these?
Can I quickly say, just to say that, in a way, how you said that, you know, with all the pain and what's going on, but we also have to think about the fact that true beauty in art that has true emotion comes from pain. Rage, guilt, regret, it's a natural occurrence, and actual great artistry comes from that.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that? That's for the entire panel. Can we all weigh in on that? How do you create art in spite of the pain, in spite of what's going on in the world?
For me, as an individual, art is kind of how I just cope with things. It gives me an outlet that I can freely express myself with and like create how I want to create, to kind of express how I'm feeling or how I want to feel or how I wish things were. It's how I really get all of my emotions out, especially when I can't do it in other ways.
To go off of that, I can actually agree with Sadie when it comes to like with art expressing how you feel about things. Because, for example, with graffiti and stuff, out like on the streets and stuff, or just in abandoned places, some of them graffiti messages, like they actually send messages to people. It actually warns you about what's going on, what's been going on, and what could possibly happen.
I really want to hone in on that because that actually is what was most felt in your images, because I grew up in a period of time, I was just telling someone, you know, I feel like we're back in the Reagan era, right? And I grew up in the 80s where graffiti was bad, bad, bad. Everything's bad about graffiti, right? And I love that you said that one of the things that we miss is the coding and the messaging, you know, very much like we miss that about when we talk about slavery, right? And we don't understand the Underground Railroad or the coding that slaves gave to other slaves, right? We don't understand it, we just dismiss it. And when I saw the graffiti on your bodies and on the screen, that the actual words that you were speaking were also made into graffiti, it really clarified for me the poetics of graffiti as a poetry as a deciphering of Black life and all those things. And I just was like, wow, these kids are dope. You all are doing something on another level that I don't even know if you know the layers of what you're doing. And you actually were cross-generationally connecting, because those of us who did graffiti, I was a b-boy in the early 90s, and I thought graffiti was a great expression, but it wasn't about gangs, right? People always say, oh, there's all these little gangsters, blah, blah, blah. No, we were like, our schools wouldn't give us the tools to do the work, do the art and the work and communicate, and no one was listening to us, right? And so we then did graffiti, and I just really love this. I also thought about this question, which was, I know you might want to respond to the question, but I also thought about the tattooing process. That, unfortunately, much of what you all are talking about in these issues feel permanent because of the permanence of this particular society, right? The way that it just seems to be invested in Black death and unwellness, right? So I don't know. It's profound how you had me just thinking with you. So I thank you for that. Did anybody else want to answer the management question? How you do art in spite of? I mean, you just lost a friend. I mean, that was also devastating to me.
So how I manage it is more like, so I'm gonna give you a description. So what I normally do is I climb the roof of my house and I sit there. When I sit there, I try and let air, and I try to feel everything that, like, my surroundings, and I open my eyes. What I mean by open my eyes is I don't just open my eyes like to see. I open my eyes to be aware and realize what's going on in today's society. And when I do that, that helps me want to put messages through my art, whether it be through film, whether it be through photography, through sketches, through graffiti. But that's how I really manage it. I like to just feel like my surroundings.
What I do with like coping with everything that's going on right now, I use music to like help me like see what's going on and how people feel about things, and I like to like understand where people's coming from in like different kinds of genres and different kinds of music.
Awesome, thank you. So I want to ask the panel, and we did an exercise yesterday, so hopefully you guys remember what you wrote. And that is, how do you feel about the project now? Now that you've gone through this process, now that you've put it out there, now that you've taken ownership of the social justice issue, how are you feeling now? Who wants to go first? Please, Tyshawn.
Yeah. So
Don't forget your update.
my update.
Right, what you wrote down yesterday.
Oh, that's right. You're right. You feel me? Just me, Goose. So I had to. I had no choice. So basically, this like this whole panel is not panel, but this whole event basically, it's a good way to spread awareness about things that most people aren't really talking about. Well, if I'm being completely honest, if you really think about this, a lot of people don't really watch the news like that. People do, but not everyone. And everybody finds out their own information in multiple different ways. And one of the really good ways to do that is to hear from the youth. Because now since you're hearing, like, my fault. Now since you're hearing all of these problems come from the youth, now it's like, oh, okay, so look. Now this is real serious, because now you got the youth talking about this. Like, usually youth will be like, oh, now let's play game and stuff, you feel me? But now, like, this stuff is real serious, and we all need to really be really aware of what's going on around the world.
Thank you.
To go off of that, my homie, right? So I agree with him, because honestly, we are Gen Z. We are we will be the ones taking over the world and controlling what's going on. So if that's the case, stop looking at me. So if that's the case, it's better to start early talking about it than trying to figure it all out when we're all in our 40s, right? It's better to start addressing problems and trying to figure out solutions at an early stage than to figure it out when the situation gets worse.
Can I just go back to Daishan? Daishan, you wrote something on your recap about the draft.
Oh yeah. So about that, previously, the draft has been like re-enabled and stuff, and basically a lot. Like when I say a lot, I mean a lot of people are being drafted in now, and now they are more urgent. Like they're more pushing towards urgently bringing more like way more women into the military and stuff now. And when I seen that, I'm like, yo, it's really getting real serious now because when I read the article, apparently the Gaza and Israel fact is the conflict, my bad, is starting to spread a little bit. So now the U.S. are taking heavy measures to try and prevent anything from happening.
That is really fascinating because I think one of the things that we haven't recognized, everyone's focused on taking sides. Which side are you taking? And I've been perpetually telling people I'm anti-war. I will always be anti-war, no matter what. And if we're taking an anti-war stance, there is no side, right? But being anti-war also means, for me as a Black studies professor, as a Black person, it means that we have to attend to the fact that there's a disproportionate rate of recruitment for Black and brown folk to the military to fight battles that are sometimes against our own interest. That is crazy, right? But because of our conditions, we're like, government benefits, right? Education. I can get this.
See the world.
I can see the world, right? Because there's no other opportunities for Black and brown folks to see the world. The study abroad programs that come to my son's private school ain't available at every public school, right? We know how this goes, right? And so you're really, really honing in on something. And then, Ismail, what you said was just really interesting in terms of thinking about what does it mean to be not just priestly, but prophetic. The priests attend to the issue right when it happens or when it comes. They're reactionary. The prophet sees it, tends to it before it happens.
And warns.
Right? And so the prophetic tradition that is very much Black studies and very much Black people and very much, people of color is in y'all. Right, and I don't even want to fully burden you with it. I actually think us listening to you and hearing you be prophetic allows us to anticipate. Like, I had not thought about this military thing at all, and listen. My son just told me he wants to go to the military, and I kind of screamed, right? But it's a special situation. Like, he's coming out of a criminal situation, and he thinks to himself that the corrective is to serve the country because somehow someone taught him that. That was not my teaching, obviously. But I think that idea that my son will possibly decide this is like, no, not now. The other piece that I think is interesting, right, is when you're in wartime, it's probably not the best time to sign up for the military, at least from my perspective. And so that's the other scary part, right? And I think you're really onto something. So I think, what art is giving you to is the knowledge to think further than just Israel versus Gaza, right? But to the idea of war itself. Yeah, you were going to say something, sorry.
Just your recap now, what you wrote, the update, how you're feeling about the project now, and those additional details that you provided.
I feel that women should be able to work and not have to worry about, oh, I'm not gonna be able to feed my children or this and that. When we should be able to have equal amount. And it's crazy that they have federal laws and like all these laws saying that you can't pay people based off their race or their gender, but it still hasn't changed at all. Like women only get paid like 50% of what men get paid on a daily basis, and it's not right at all. But I feel like us being able to like project our art should it's gonna show people that it's not right, and they should like do something about it instead of just like having people say they're gonna do something about it and just like letting it sit there.
I mean, the critical awareness that you all have. I'm telling y'all, when y'all go to college, y'all gonna be dope. Because what you just said is a mouthful. You said it in like 3 sentences, but to be honest, like what I heard you say back to us is, if women already, and particularly white women, right, are making half the dollar to white men, black women are making 25 cents to that dollar, right? So that is absolutely grotesque. And I will tell you what I also heard you say is, when we're in positions of power where we can actually shift those differences, we have to do so, right? And I will tell you, as a black man who has lived in this body for a very long time, majority of my equality work is spent trying to do that work, right? Because the institutions that I work for, they love blessing me as a cisgender man. But then I can see on paper where, for particularly black women, they are not receiving the same kinds of wage equality and equity. And so I think you're very, very right and very aware. And the thing is, we don't even think in terms of race and gender, right? So this is where America is kind of growing, right? Is that we have had a very singular issue kind of foci, right? We continue to say, oh, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a straight, I'm a gay, right? But we do realize that these things compound and come together often, especially for us, right? Triple oppression, some of us, right? And what that comes out to is triple hurt in terms of the pockets too, right? So don't be a black trans non-binary woman. All them categories, it says no money, no money, no money, no money. Home insecurity, violence, right? So that's how we have to start thinking. So kudos to you. Y'all don't even understand. Like I just get excited because the things that we teach in these kind of highfalutin institutions with all this language that I've stayed away from trisyllabic words and stuff today, right? Because I'm not here for that, right? I'm here to actually understand and talk with you about complex issues without actually being too complex. And art is the best way to translate and transfer energy. And I love what you all are doing. So I'm just gonna keep saying that to each of you. Know that we are lucky to have you.
Absolutely. And Ayana, I just want to say that we should put that on a T-shirt, that phrase, project our art. I love that. So we're going to do that. Thank you. All right. Can we still hear from Abigail?
The reasoning for basically the whole my topic was basically how I grew up in the beginning. I have Caribbean parents, so basically we're not moved up with how you could talk to parents and all that stuff. Basically, I can say my grandfather when he used to talk to my mom, he barely talked at all. Like, he's now changing, which is like a big thing too, seeing as he's a boomer basically, and they're really hard-headed. But a big problem is when it comes to like people in general and the younger generation is like communication. Because like the biggest, like what hurts a lot is when you love someone but you don't know how to help them. And it's even worse when you're hearing them but you're not actually listening to them. So it just restarts over and over again. And some of us don't even want to listen because it's hard of listening, because then you actually have to, in a way, fix yourself too. Because to help someone, you have to have some type of growth yourself. So me and my mom were really close. What happened was when I was younger, she was going through stuff, I was going through stuff, and we really didn't know how to communicate with each other. So it hurt a lot. So in a way, we realized we kind of are both hurting each other. We finally had a talk, and it was hard. It was kind of hard, very much so. But we had a talk, and it took a long time. But we both grew from it, very much so. I now talk to her about everything, like every single thing, like what I'm going through, if I'm having a bad day. And it took a long time because like growth takes, takes years. I'm still learning now. She's still learning now. I laugh a lot with my grandfather too. He is my best friend. He's also changed a lot too. He's grown a lot. So now because of this, I am now 15, turning 16, and I have a really strong support system. And I'm proud of that because before it was kind of wavery. But now we're all changing, we're all growing, and it helps a lot to hear someone. And it kind of hurts when a lot of other kids don't have that at all, because then they get in the wrong group. And naturally when you get in the wrong group, everything changes. Like, then that's when the whole idea of children acting up, or they don't listen, they don't want to listen, all they do is stay on their phone. But they're trying to call for you for help and you're not hearing them. And it hurts a lot. And the idea is it's even harder imagine a young individual being in a group full of people who've been doing this work for years. It's hard because like you have great ideas. Those ideas could, change the world. But no one's going to hear you because of your age. They're not going to think you're mature for your age because you're just a kid. You could be in your 20s too. You're just a kid. Why are you in grown folks' business? It's not your business. And they don't realize a lot of growth, a lot of like maturity it comes with age, but it also comes with experience. And around these years, a lot of kids are experiencing great, like horrible things. And they're growing up too fast. And we're thinking, why are you going up too fast? They had to grow up fast. That's the problem. And it's horrible that you don't really get to have that childhood how you wanted to. So I think now for the parents that are actually, or people like before that had a hard time, and are actually taking time to grow and actually, heal that inner child, and then while healing your inner child, connecting with the younger ones, your kid, that takes a lot of guts. That really does. It's hard. And I may not know much, but I do know it's hard changing yourself. It really is. It takes time. It takes years. And you actually have to want to grow as an individual to do that for your kid. And that shows true love, pure love for your kid when you do that. And yeah, that's what I have to say.
No, you just helped somebody. Wow. Definitely helped me. there were many things that you said there. And I think, yeah, I don't get emotional much in public, but this is one of those times where I feel like yeah. I will say, one of the things that I heard you say that really struck a chord with me was the notion of childhood innocence being no more, and the way in which both social media, but also childhood experiences, the black child's experiences, right, brown child's experience, gets rid of the category of innocence. I would argue that innocence has always been mythological, right? It was the thing, innocence was used as a ruse to so I can just dismiss you, right? It's like, you're so innocent, you don't know anything, you have these naive ears, ha ha ha, right? Thank you so much, right? You're to be seen and not heard, right? All of that. And I think what you said to me or to us is that's no more. We now have access to information. We now know all of these issues exist. So mom and dad, that's no more. You no longer can play me and act like I don't know. So that requires something of us, right? I tend to teach white children, white students at the University of Rochester, many black students as well, but many more white students. And one of the things I will say is over and over again, my white students, when they've taken black studies courses and gender studies courses and political science courses, and they've started learning the world, they speak back because they know things now. They're no longer racially innocent. And so I think your conversation tells us something about getting rid of this idea that we need to preserve, quote unquote, children's innocence. I know what y'all mean when you say innocence. I'm not saying get rid of that. I'm saying the idea that these are naive folk who don't have any experience, have not been touched by the world. I mean, they're telling us they have, right? And so what does that mean to listen to you and not stereotype you as infantile, as an infant? But you're a growing person. So thank you.
Anybody else want to weigh in on how they feel about the project now that they've gone through it? Did you? Okay, Sadie. Close this up.
For me, as of current, I still feel very much the same with my issue. It's something that still isn't talked about enough as of current, especially online. A lot of the places where people tend to get out with this type of information, especially through art, is online nowadays. And back when these types of things became a issue majorly, it was talked about a lot, but it very quickly died out or got silenced or replaced with things like mainstream media and other things that would have drowned it out. And I think it's really important that people just continue to think about it and bring it up, especially reproductive rights, because those affect everyone, not just women or people who can give birth. They affect everyone in the world. It'll affect those who have been subjected to having to give birth when they didn't want to or were not able to. It'll affect their children, later generations. It's something that very deeply affects everyone. And even if we don't see it at first or don't realize it at first, we slowly come to terms with it as we grow older. And even for people who are younger, even small children, they'll be affected by it. I feel like personally, it's more important to protect everyone's reproductive rights than it is to just protect the rights of a small specific group. It's something we all have. It's something we all make use of even. It's something that's very important and affects who it is that we are as individuals. Not even just humans on their own. All creatures have a reproductive system that they literally require that they have to have because it's what they use to continue being a creature on this earth. It's something that we should protect because it's the whole reason that we're still here.
Are we taking questions from the audience?
Anybody have any questions for the panel? These brilliant young minds that are up here? Don't be shy. They weren't. And I applaud each of you really for being so brave today. I really, really appreciate you guys. Seriously, you inspire me. Thank you. Question, Jackie McGriff.
Hi. First of all, always inspired by young artists and who are absolutely thinking for what's going on and speaking up about it. It takes bravery, it's courage. And speaking of that courage, how do you deal with someone, or I guess have a conversation with someone who may be in opposition, to the things that you're talking about, especially talking about what's going on in Gaza right now?
So how do we deal with opposition? How do we deal with people who don't agree with us about these issues in particular?
I would say for them to, well, if they don't agree with us, we could better explain it by saying all of the history that Gaza and Israel have, because I ain't gonna lie, when my teacher taught me before about everything that's happened between Gaza and Israel, I forgot, but at the same time, I know the things that I remember is that knowing that it was very violent and there was a lot of very dangerous stuff going on over there and very hurtful things. Like, I ain't gonna lie, one time I kind of got a little bit upset too because all the stuff that was going on. But other than that, I would just simply say to better explain exactly what's going on, give them information on what's happened before, and give them some insight on why some of that stuff is happening now.
Good answer. Thank you.
Let me add on to that. I got you with the history, bro. So basically, Israel is pretty new. I think it's around like 80 years old, like really new. So it was basically a country made off of like religion. It was basically religion based, and they're fighting over the Holy Land, which is now Israel now. What happened was during the whole Holocaust that happened, with the whole genocide and everything, they needed their own place, and they kind of had the whole fight with Palestine. So they ended up taking over it, and then now we have Israel. So the problem for the people that are against Israel is why are you creating a genocide when you literally went through the same thing too? A lot of people don't know that the whole, can I say the word, terrorist group, Hamas, a lot of the people who are actually fighting in that are victims. Their family have been killed, murdered, and they're basically, a lot of them are orphans. That's the crazy part, they don't know about that. And it's basically revenge for their family that has been killed. They don't say this enough. It's not just Palestine. All eyes on Rafah, that is a big one. Gaza is also a big one. They don't tell you about Sudan enough. They don't tell you about Congo. They're now saying Haiti is now like a dead country or whatever in the islands. There's a lot more they don't tell you about because naturally you need to, the media helps a lot, but it also blinds you in a way. They keep a lot of stuff off the media, like Tiananmen Square. They keep that off of China. They also didn't tell you in Korea there's this thing called G4. It's a group called G4, something like that. A lot of the women in Korea are attired. It also wraps around Sadie's reproductive thing. They're also tired, so they decided to not have kids at all. And actually, because of this, they do not have a first grade class anymore. They don't have a first grade class, everyone moved up. So seeing that, imagine 5 years later, they probably won't even have an elementary school. They're tired of the abuse, of like the pain and everything. And people don't tell you that enough, really. It's hard on everyone. Everyone's getting negatively affected, but they hide it because naturally everything has a structure, and as long as there is structure or the sense of stability and you're getting protected, you're not going to really question it. Or there's people that know about it, but they know there's the government, so why question the government? But sometimes you have to actually think. If you didn't actually, go research yourself or check deeper into the matter, how long would it have to be like the world burning for you to actually understand that nothing's okay? There's a lot of things that are going on. It really makes you think about that.
Well, I think that that's really well said. And part of what I hear you saying is media is so well curated, whereas your art, right, has been curated for explicit messages, right? You wanted to make clear what your thesis was. Whereas media is like, well, we're still trying to deal with objectiveness, and so we don't have a thesis. We're just trying to do what often our donors have asked us to do.
Just the bullet points.
Right, just the bullet points, right? And so we get lost in the sauce. And so part of why there's an attack on higher education today, right, is because what we don't pretend to do is neutrality. Some of us do, but not in some of the areas that are most attacked in higher education. And so when you see like all this information around like colleges being attacked and freedom of speech and all this stuff that's happening, don't be fooled. People are aware that the information that you're getting in college is actually challenging what you're getting elsewhere. And that is the counter, right? That's the move, right? So people are attacking, right, diversification. They're attacking Black studies and gender studies programs and any program that tries to teach outside of the norm, right? And there's a reason for that, because like you just said, there's information that we just did not have for a long time unless we really searched for it. And now it's just readily available to y'all, right? It's there. One more question from the audience before we conclude. Rashaad, brother.
Okay, so being that there are no more questions from the audience, I just want to take this brief moment again to thank each and every one of you.
Absolutely.
You guys mean so much to me, for real. I do what I do because of you guys, really. It is incumbent upon me to pay it forward, to pass the mic, literally and figuratively. I want your voices to be heard loud, proud, and clearly in this world. That is very important to me. It has always been an objective of mine with each and every expanding the field cohort. I always try to design programming and opportunities like this so that their voices can be heard, both visually and authentically, right? It's so very important that you guys, like Ismail said, take this world by storm, because it is going to be in your hands to do so. So it is very important, the work that you're doing right here and right now. And so I want you to understand that, although we had a lot of fun with this and, we did what we needed to do to get the work done in a confined amount of time, but it has long-lasting effects. Even in the context of this exhibit being that it's going to be extended out now into the fall. So there are going to be many, many opportunities for people to come and see and experience the work. That is huge. What we've done here today and this opportunity that has been extended to us is a really, really big deal. And I want you guys to own that and to be proud of that for a lifetime. So thank you.
Yes. No. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I would like, if you would, another round of applause for our panelists and our moderators. Thank you both. That was both an inspiring and touching, as Jeffrey alluded to, talk, but what I found myself sitting here thinking was, these students are our teachers, and I can hear in each of your voices and how you talk about the things that you are passionate about and the way you are learning from each other, that is just going to continue. So congratulations for being at the start of this journey, and thank you. So at this time, I'd like to ask Juliana Muniz, who's the Photography and Digital Arts Director at Flower City Art Center, to come up and say a few things. When she is done, can the people who work with Flower City Art Center and our panelists go to the gallery to have some photographs taken in that space? And everyone is welcome to the multipurpose hall, which is the hall as you come in behind the introductory table for reception, refreshments. Okay, so I will not come back up. You do not have to listen to me again.
And I do have just one more thing before Juliana speaks, if you don't mind. There's 14 students that are a part of this project, a part of this work, and obviously all of them are not here today. But I just want to report that some of them have jobs, which is great. They are at work as we speak right now, or in another program that's advancing their, intellect and their artistry and things of that nature. So the ones that are missing are actually actively involved in their community even now, right? And then a couple of them actually recorded short videos for me for their update for the project, and we're going to play at least a couple videos of students' recap of the project in the multipurpose room during the reception. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm so happy to be here with you today to celebrate with these young people, all their beautiful accomplishments. I'm a little nervous, I'm rusty at public speaking. But I want to thank Rashaad Parker for all your hard work and dedication. I hope I don't cry. Thank you. You've given so much towards expanding the field and providing meaningful opportunities for young people to experience the transformative impact of the arts and teaching them that their voices matter. It's a much needed and important work. It's not always easy for you doing this work, but you always persevere and you always show up with passion. And thank you for that. Thank you to the teachers that helped with this particular project, Mr. Rashaad, Ms. Kylie, and Mr. Noah. The technical aspects of creating with photography and video to me are as important as the content. Knowledge of the tools and technical skills are valuable and will contribute to the success of our young students in the future. I remember starting my own photography journey in education, and I was in classes with people who had already had the privilege of being exposed to arts, education, nice equipment, and art-making opportunities throughout their family life, through their schooling and extracurricular activities. And I felt jealous of them. And I felt like I didn't fit in. But in my work now, I often hear from other adults, and I echo that, dang, I wish there were programs like this for me when I was growing up. If our students decide to pursue photography and film and whatever they decide to pursue, having been in this program and having had this exposure gives them a boost that I can tell you from my own experience matters. So thank you to the teachers. Thank you to the George Eastman Museum staff for all of your hard work and dedication, for welcoming Flower City Art Center youth and giving them this amazing platform to show off their skills and talents. We teach them that their vision and voice are important, but having work exhibited in a renowned institution of photography and motion pictures brings it to another level. Exhibiting here is every photographer and filmmaker's dream, so thank you so much for making space for us all to be here. And thank you to Flower City Art Center, all our current staff and board, and those who came before us, like Sharon Turner. I won't name us all, but every person plays a special part in our mission of art for all people. I'm looking forward to continuing the work of expanding the field with all of you. And to our students, congratulations, and thank you. Creating art, lifting our voices, all the buttons and controls on cameras and equipment can be intimidating. Putting yourself out there and getting in front of the camera isn't easy, but we knew that you could do it, and you did it because you can do anything you want to do. Knowing this goes beyond photography, video, and art. Confidence in your ability to learn what you want to learn and do things that you want to do and challenge yourself will stay with you throughout any further education and throughout life. So keep showing up and taking a seat at the table. And we need your point of view and we need your voice. So never be afraid to say, pass me the mic, because I've got something to say. Thank you.